With all the recent talk of a coming recession, high inflation, and overall worse economic situation for entire countries, I think it might be quite smart for you to take a closer look at your personal financial situation and just be prepared for whatever comes your way. And because of that, I made this list of 5 money saving tips that you can start using today. Number 1 on the list is do not look for discounted products. They will make you poor. This one might sound a little bit odd, but bear with me. Say you're in the supermarket to buy dinner. You see this big sign and on it a picture of a steak, and next to it a sign that says 25% discount. If you're like most people, you will look at the sign and you will say to yourself, what a great deal, that's a bargain. But in reality, this is one of the costliest mistakes people make. What you came to buy was dinner, not steak. You could, for example, make a really good omelette for a fraction of the price. Let's say the meal with a discounted steak went from costing $13 per person to now only costing $10 per person. This is still way more expensive than making that really good omelette, which might cost anywhere from around like $2 to $3 per person. So you didn't save 25% on your meal. You lost $10 when you could have only lost $2. This is why it can be so extremely costly to only chase after discounts when you're walking around the supermarket. So think for yourself, what alternatives are there? What kind of options do I have? Do I have to have what is on a discount, or could I choose something else? So the lesson is, just because something is on a discount, that doesn't mean it's necessarily cheap. So do not blindly chase after products with discounts. Just think for yourself. Number 2 on the list is own a beat-up car. It completely amazes me that people take out loans to buy new cars. It's an asset that in 99 times out of 100 will depreciate in value if you buy the car brand new. You see, the moment the car leaves the driveway of the car dealer, the price of the new car plummets. But your loan is still as big as when you bought the car. And as if that wasn't bad enough, you have to pay interest on your bad investment because it's still a loan. And I know, a lot of people need cars. That isn't the strange part. And I know from personal experience, it's the ultimate tool for experiencing freedom. But the question isn't, do you need a car or not in this instance? It's, do you need a brand new car? Would a slightly less high-end car work just as fine? In most cases, probably. In most Western countries, the car is the second highest expense for households, but it doesn't have to be. A lot of cars that cost $2,000 work just fine. My car was dead cheap and it still takes me to where I have to go. So think for yourself if you're buying this status symbol to show off, keeping up with the Joneses, or if you're actually buying just a way of transportation. Be a little bit pragmatic and a little less interested in what you think that other people think of you. That's my advice, at least. Number 3 is pay yourself first. This method is often overlooked, which is a shame because it works extremely well. It's dumb-proof. What you do is you set up so when your salary comes in, automatically some money is drawn and transferred over to, for example, your high interest savings account. This way you are paying yourself first. And in this way, you can't spend that money then because it's locked in a savings account. So it's locked away before you even get the chance to spend it. This is the opposite of what most people do because they get their salary and then they spend it, and maybe, just maybe by the end of the month, if they have something left, then they think about maybe I should invest this or save it. So it's the complete opposite. In other words, they pay themselves last. But by paying yourself first through this setup, you automate and outsource the habit of saving and investing for the future. And it can really make a difference if you invest consistently every month through dollar cost averaging into, for example, an index fund and letting that money compound over time. So why would you risk that positive future on you remembering to transfer and invest every month when you can just automate it and then never miss a single transfer? It is a stupid, simple system that I think more people should use. Number 4 on the list is stop being a subscription hoarder, and I will explain what that means in a second. In today's society, everything is turning into subscription-based models. Netflix, Disney Plus, food planning, gyms, Microsoft Office, Adobe, the list goes on. And this in of itself isn't bad, of course. So when you actually look at what you are subscribed to, ask yourself this question. Do the things I pay for every single month bring joy and happiness and meaningfulness in my life? If the answer is yes, well, good, keep subscribing. But if the answer is not, then why do you give these companies your money every single month without exception if that doesn't bring you any joy? You see, the subscription-based model is great for companies, and this is why. Instead of customers doing the active work of going out and buying the product, the customers now have to do the active work of not buying the product by instead canceling their subscription. This is why subscriptions are so sticky and why companies love them. And what is even worse is that a lot of people are trying to convince themselves that they are actually using the services they are subscribed to, when in fact it's just an excuse for not taking the proper action and canceling the subscriptions you're not using. So take a good look at your subscriptions, and I will bet you will find at least one or two that are completely unnecessary or even harmful. Yes, I'm looking at you, you binge watcher. Number 5 on the list is to not fall for hedonic adaptation. This is one of the more interesting psychological concepts that help explain people's relationship with money. So have you wondered why rich people don't seem to be much happier than anyone else? This is partly because of the mentioned hedonic adaptation. Hedonic adaptation says that people have a tendency to fall back to a base level of happiness despite changes in life circumstances. For example, the happiness you feel after eating an ice cream will decrease quite quickly. But since people want to feel good and experience that kick or that higher level of happiness, what happens is that they, to use the example of the ice cream again, try putting on chocolate sauce or eat it with a cookie, anything to get that kick once again. And here comes why this is very important when it comes to personal finance. What happens to people when they have a salary increase or they get an inheritance or, I don't know, they win the lottery, is that they start buying things and then they continue to buy bigger things and bigger things. So it becomes more expensive and more expensive. And why do they do it? Yes, exactly. To feel that higher level of happiness because they want to stay there. When you buy things in this manner, sometimes it's called hedonic consumption. The thing is that when they have bought that new TV or that new car, what eventually will happen, that always happens, is their happiness will decrease. Or rather, they will fall back to the baseline of happiness. If you've ever bought a new phone or a laptop, I think you know this feeling. It's like when you get that new phone and you're quite thrilled about it and you're super careful with it and you don't want anyone else to hold it. But then after a week, you become a little less careful and a little less interested. And that initial high that made you almost a little bit protective is almost gone. And it's not weird because you're not emotionally invested in that new phone anymore. And after a month, you don't remember that feeling at all. So know that most things you buy won't make you happy in the long run. So don't spend money just because you can or to get that initial quick high. Instead, put some aside for a cloudy day or maybe invest it for the future. If you are interested in increasing your happiness, it doesn't come from these quick spikes, by the way. It comes from increasing the baseline of happiness you feel. And the research have found that there are 3 things you can do. One is practicing gratitude. The other one is developing strong social connections and engage in activities that bring purpose to your life. So in other words, buying has nothing to do with happiness in the end. Those were the 5 tips. Stay away from discounts, have an old car, pay yourself first, don't be a subscription hoarder, and don't fall for hedonic adaptation. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found these tips valuable, and I'll see you in the next one.